Hello, everyone. So we've just been dropped a bombshell on today, and this is by the European Union. Imagine the European Union has a say in what laws are passed in Ireland. It should not be the case in a sovereign, independent country. But they're talking about the hate speech bill. Now, this is, why the hate speech bill hasn't been passed yet? Because there's such huge opposition from people like myself that are simply against the hate speech bill. It's anti-democratic. Like, we have to say it straight. Because it is literally anti-democratic and abused in a million ways. Like every nearly legislation that's passed by Dáil Éireann has hundreds of loopholes. And it's pretty much a stepping stone to authoritarianism. Because the government can censor what they deem as hateful. Because the one thing is very hard, and I've asked people that are in touch with law solicitors, I've known one barrister, I asked them to define hate. It's a hard thing to define in law. Like sitting down in a courtroom and defining it in law. It's easy, it's not an easy thing to do, to define hate. And what does hate mean? That's the thing. And not even that, it'd be so hard if the government wanted, they could say people are committing hate speech by criticising the government. This is what could happen. And that's why it has not been passed, because there's such opposition. And it's not because we want to be allowed to, slag off people or abuse people because of who they are or where they come from or whatever like that. It's down to the fact that we should be allowed to, particularly immigration, as you know, is the top topic in the country. And we see it happening in every town and every village and across rural Ireland, across the whole country of Ireland. We see it happening day by day, hour by hour. And we see it, and again, this is what the government wants to do. They want to shut down dissent, and that's what it is. We've seen the Irish government become more authoritarianism every year. We've seen this time and time again. And this, and I simply say this to you straight, as an Irish person, as a young person in Ireland, this is a slippery slope, and I'm not. There's no agenda behind this at all with me. I simply feel for people who speak out against the government. I simply do. There's people who have horrible things done to them by the government, by the state, by the HSE, by other organisations, by An Garda Síochána O'Connor. This is a slippery slope. This is a slippery slope, and we could lose our whole country over this. Our country's already gone to the dogs, but we could lose everything. A citizen who speaks out against An Garda Síochána O'Connor could be deemed hate speech because they were abused by the Gardaí or they were falsely imprisoned. The rap sheet, literally, we could go down the whole list pretty much. But the main thing, and I suppose, with the hate speech bill, the Irish public, the Irish people do not trust the people sitting in Dáil Éireann. Simple as that. They do not trust them, and I don't trust them. And it'd be different if I could trust them. You could say they're doing it for the benefit of the country and stuff, but you could not trust them with an inch, let alone a mile. And and I say this straight: if they bring in this hate speech bill, everything else is off the table. Like, there should be generally such public upset, such public anger that I don't know what to say. But what I'm trying to say is there would be. This is pretty much the stepping stone. What I'm trying to say, because it simply cannot be allowed to come into this country. Simply cannot, because again, it can be abused in 100 different ways, and particularly when they drafted it originally, the hate speech bill, and there was vague language, wishy-washy language, not strong definitions. What I'm trying to say, it was wishy-washy language saying, "Oh, we could do this and we could do that, and if somebody does that and somebody does this," but it was all very vague. That's the what. And when it comes to laws and when it comes to courts, etc., etc., it has to be formed. The law has to be formed and has to state definitively, this is what a law is. This is what a crime is. If you do this, you go to prison or you go to jail, whatever the story may be. But with the hate speech bill that they drafted, the original draft, they might change it a bit. It was very wishy-washy. It was not really to say, if you do this, you could be committing a hate offence. But again, the thing we all go back to, you have to define hate. And many lawyers have said this. It's hard to define hate. I know it sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it is. When it comes to somebody's imprisonment or freedom or liberty, it is a very, very hard thing to deny. And particularly when, as we say about immigration into the country, that could be deemed very hateful too, and against hate speech or whatever you would say. But there's, first of all, Dáil Éireann, as the people in 1916, the people who founded the First Dáil, that Dáil Éireann and Shannon Éireann have the ultimate power in the state and should not be told by the European Union what to do. And as simple as that too, the European Union are doing this far too much, telling us what to do as a sovereign independent state. This should not be allowed to happen. As a sovereign independent state too, we should be telling the European Union to go and mind their own fucking business. Excuse my language, but that's what they need to do. Mind their own fucking business. Stay in Brussels and do whatever they want in Brussels, but get your nose out of Ireland and our affairs. It's up to the Irish. At the end of the day, it's up to to be told honest, this is the way they could solve the whole issue. And this is the thing I propose, that the Irish state does a referendum on the hate speech bill, and the Irish people vote on it. And we can. That's the only way I could see they could never do this. And first of all, I don't know how they would manage through the Constitution, like, not even to mention. The Irish Constitution specifically says that you're entitled to your religious and your free speech, your right to speak. There's nothing in the world where they can take it away. As it nearly says in the Constitution, the only person who could take it away is Almighty God. When you drop dead from this earth, that's the only way they can. That's the only way you ever lose your speech, when you leave this earth. That's the only thing the Irish Constitution says. There's there's no human that can take away your free speech, and that's the way it should be as a democracy. Because this bill is anti-democratic, because the whole purpose of democracy, you have your right to speak, and it's a slippery slope when we come to this, when things are hateful, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, in a lot of these cases, it's up to the person who experiences this, whatever may say, it's up to them to deal with it themselves in the court, to be told to themselves, like at their own expense, of course. But the Gardaí, as I just say, even just going into the hate speech bill itself, the Gardaí be spending donkey's years chasing up people for hate speech laws, compared to police in the streets. Like, take for example, the Garda numbers are already down. So, take for example, the Gardaí be more time going around arresting people for hate speech, for whatever, if they criticise immigration, if they criticise a government minister, than they would be for enforcing, people with knives, people with guns, things like that. Crimes that actually kill people and injure people and harm people in a huge physical way and stuff like that. But we're sitting here and we're talking about basically policing the internet too, in a way too, because that's really what it is too, policing the internet, and it's impossible to do. To police every corner of the internet. First of all, I don't think any country could do it apart from North Korea, maybe in China. But it's a slippery slope. It is really, really slippery slope. And I've said this, I've been against the hate speech bill since day one. They talked about it. But I think we should be telling the European Commission to go jump a lake and to mind their own fucking business, excuse my language. Because at the end of the day, it's up to the Irish people if they want it or not. It's not up to the European Union to tell us what to do. We did not vote for the European Union to tell us, you must do this or you must do that or we will fine you. That's bullshit. Like, let's put it that way. That's bullshit. Like, that's not democracy. Just telling you must do this or we will take legal action. That's not democracy. That's authoritarianism. Simple as that. Because how dare, first of all, the European Union tell a sovereign country what to do with its own laws in its own country? Simple as that. It's insane. It's insane. But as I say, I have no agenda behind this. I'm not a part of any political party. I don't say. I speak out against the government hundreds of times a day, of course. But I fear for my own safety. Well, not for my own safety. I really don't care anymore. To be totally honest. But I fear for people who speak out for who have issues with the government. Take for example the HSE, on Garda Síochána, or other issues. And they speak out against the government policy on different things, not even immigration, other stuff too, because they could wishy-washy language. Oh, if you criticise the government, we could throw you in prison and stuff. That's what they could do, because there's no trust in these people. Micheál Martin can't be trusted. This fellow, the Minister of Justice, Helen McEntee, the whole lot of them cannot be trusted. As simple as that. None of them can be trusted. You couldn't trust them. I wouldn't trust them with a cafe shop, let alone a government. These people are evil people that were out to do this country harm, and have done this country harm in unspeakable ways, in every possible way. We have seen time and time again unspeakable hardships on Irish people's lives. We see with a young lad that can't get into he tried 83 schools, and still no place for him. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous, and it's a sad state of affairs. And I really, really wish I didn't have to sit here and talk about it. I wish we were able to talk about actually doing something to benefit Irish people's lives, Irish citizens' lives. But we're not. We're here discussing about this again. And you think the Irish government would be more worried about, we should try and benefit Irish people's lives, Irish citizens' lives, make their lives better, make it cheaper for them to live, make it cheaper for them to rent. But we're here discussing about this. It's idiotic if you ask me. And again, this is my opinion. That's free speech. That's democracy. That you're allowed to criticise stuff. That's freedom. That's what the people in 1916 fought for. Our freedom to speak. Just even speak about this too. This is not hateful, this is not deceitful or anything like that. This is just giving my blatant opinion and showing you what I think. And again, I could point out many times I don't trust it, because the Irish government have lied to us many times over. And you simply could not trust them. It'd be different if you could trust them. You could say they were doing this for the benefit of society, right? But you simply cannot give them that benefit of the doubt, because they have shown time and time again, over and over and over again, they cannot be trusted with 1 inch of a thing. And it's simple, and it's a sad thing to say about your own government, but it is the honest to God truth. So let me know what you think. Hopefully they don't get away with it, and I presume they won't get away with it, because everybody in the mother is going to be protesting this and making sure that this won't pass regardless of what they do. Because first of all, it'd be a miracle if they can get it through the Irish courts, like the courts, first of all, the Supreme Court. And not even that. If Michael D. Higgins, I don't know, would it be before November? Probably would be. But Michael D. Higgins, like out there on the hill, and the person who signs the laws of this state, simply cannot enforce this into the Irish Constitution, because the Irish Constitution specifically says that it cannot be done. Simple as that. It cannot be done. There's nobody on this earth that can take away that right for you to have your freedom of speech. And it's a society issue. It's not just even for us, people who speak out and stuff for the government. It's a whole society issue. It's a whole society, down to the infant child that's in the pram. Because it's their future that we have to worry about. It's not our future. But it's their future. It's what we're leaving for them. I leave that as my last thought for the night. Thank you.